In this first podcast episode, Luke and I interview one of our all-stars from the summer program at Her Power Academy. Her name is Katelyn. She was 15 when she started the program, and she went all in this summer. At the start of HPA, she was considering stopping soccer because of the anxiety and depression she was experiencing that was taking away her love for the game. Her mom shared with us just last week that, quote, before enrolling Katelyn into Her Power Academy, we were ready to get her a therapist because of the anxiety and depression she was going through. And now, just a few months later, she's back to loving the game and feeling more confident than ever. And as you'll see, she told us at the end of the podcast that she was just selected for the third year in a row back onto New Jersey's ODP team for her age group. Even though Katelyn went through our Her Power Academy program for middle and high school aged girls, this podcast is a really good one for all parents and athletes of all genders. I say that because we dive into some topics that are near and dear to my heart, including mental and emotional resilience for teenagers and the varying impact that coaches can have on their players. As part of this, I share my own perspective on the best, most transformational coaches, my gold standard for coaches, and why I believe it is the coach's job and responsibility to bring out the best in each and every player on their team. And we also speak about the power of unconditional love, support, belief, and acceptance from coaches versus the alternative, which unfortunately we see far too often. Coaches who lack emotional intelligence, who lack a high level of communication, who yell at their players, pick favorites, tell players that they're doing things wrong without giving them solutions to improve, strip their players of self-esteem, and who instill fears of making mistakes. There's so much more that we dive into in this podcast, so check out the timestamps and topics below this video for more details. This podcast is a great one, and I hope you enjoy it. Please comment below and let us know what you think. And if you haven't already done it, tap the subscribe button so that you get notified when we come out with new videos each week.
Welcome to episode number 1, the first episode of the Evolve with Jen and Luke podcast. My name is Luke Binder, and I'm here with Jen Hoy, a former 7-year NWSL professional, and now a confidence and performance coach. And she's also the founder at Her Power Academy.
And I am here with Luke Bunder, who is a former Australian professional boxer turned mindset and confidence coach.
And in these podcasts, where we are going to be interviewing some talented and upcoming athletes and scholars, we are going to explore their perspectives on coaches' performance, overcoming confidence challenges, and much more. And the goal is to share a lot of valuable lessons and tools along the way, and to help you evolve into becoming the most confident, joyful, high-performance young athletes you can be.
Awesome. So today we have Katelyn G. She is a 16-year-old high school varsity soccer player from New Jersey. She is a forward on the soccer field, and she is a junior in high school. And her biggest successes in soccer so far have been the championship wins at the State Cup and East Regionals level, and also helping her team out in wins and scoring game and tournament winning goals. She is ranked number 6 globally in the TechDay football app for time spent developing her technical skill. And she has come in first every month for 1 year and 8 months. And that is at the, Katelyn, is that at the New Jersey level?
Yes.
Yes. She's come in first every month for 1 year and 8 months at the state New Jersey level. Also, for school, her biggest success is, one of her biggest successes is being an honor roll student through her freshman and sophomore year and having an excellent GPA.
Amazing. And the reason Katelyn loves soccer is because of how much action is in the game, how much training and work she puts into it. She really enjoys it because she can get better and better, and she loves seeing how much better she gets each season and each year. she loves the experience of improving, knowing she's taking another step to reach her goal in the sport she loves. She also loves the excitement during the games, playing on the field, doing great plays, scoring amazing goals, and just having everyone so happy, the crowd cheering for you. It's just such a great feeling, and she loves that feeling of excitement she gets from that sport. So welcome, Katelyn. How is everything?
Everything's good.
Yeah. So Katelyn's also a recent graduate of the Her Power Academy summer, and how was that for you?
It was great.
Yeah, we loved having you.
Yeah,
You crushed it.
awesome getting to meet you and getting to experience how excellent you are in everything you do. It's been really inspirational. And speaking of inspirational, we sent out a few questions to Katelyn, and you mentioned that your biggest inspiration in life is your dad. And I'm sure one of his biggest inspirations is you at this point too. So what makes your dad so inspirational for you?
He's my biggest inspiration because he almost made it to the Olympics for wrestling, like how much
Wow.
work and like determination he put into like that sport. I think it really just made me realize that it's my inspiration because how much work and all I put into soccer, that's how much he put into wrestling. Like I had his drive that he wanted to go like that far, and he was very close to making the Olympics. And I just think if the training I put in now, I think I'm able to maybe make it to that level and like fulfill his dreams of being an Olympic like player.
Amazing. So it sounds like you've learned a lot from just observing him and his work ethic as a wrestler. That's incredible. So that's your goal, is to get to the Olympics?
Yes.
Yep. And from memory, it was also your goal to play for the national team as a pro. I suppose that's Olympics, isn't it?
Yeah.
Excuse my ignorance. Amazing. That's incredible. And what would you say the biggest lessons you've learned from your dad have been that have helped your success so far?
Like no matter how hard like the sport gets on you or like what people say to you, like never give up because he he went through like disappointment and everything like that, and he still kept pushing to towards the sport. So I really think it doesn't matter how like hard the sport gets, like you just gotta keep pushing towards it. So that's really my motivation for it.
Amazing. That's beautiful. It's beautiful. You have any questions, Jane?
No, it's great so far.
Beautiful. Well, I know he's definitely set an incredible foundation for your mindset. And one of the questions we asked you before this was what has been a failure, quote unquote failure, that has actually been a blessing to you in the long run. And you answered getting cut from a team I tried out for and having the old high school coach I did. Why was that a failure that turned into a blessing for you?
The team I got cut for, like I understand that wasn't the best tryout I've had, but like going into that, it was seeing girls at a different level, and like me going in there doing whatever I needed to do, even though like I did mess up a couple times, whatever. But then after like I went home and I was like, okay, this is the thing I need to work on in case like I do want to try out for next season. So like the trial did teach me that okay, I need to work on these things to get better or become just like around just a better player at that sport. So
wow. And when was this? This was how many years ago?
this was actually this year, maybe I literally forget when I tried
Like
out.
before the summer?
Yeah, it was before the summer.
Okay, and I only bring that up because one of the things we learned and went through every girl with was the value of mistakes and how we can learn lessons from mistakes. And I just wanted to point out the fact that you've been doing that from before on your own since before we'd met. So that's super valuable. So you really, and that's one thing we really want to continue to encourage, to see how a lot of our failures look like failure at the time, but if we change the perspective and ask, how is this happening for me? What can I do to make this work for me? Or what can I learn from this mistake? What's the value in that mistake or failure? That attitude can take us for so much further than the just I feel bad for myself, that sort of thing, which you might feel that at first, but moving on from that. So awesome. And I know prior to summer, you were one of the main reasons you came to Jen and I at Her Power Academy was that you were experiencing anxiety and depression, and we were wondering if you could share a little bit about that experience with us that you were having before.
Mm-hmm. By having anxiety and depression, like especially like school nights, I wouldn't get like my full like rest of sleep. Like the anxiety, depression kept me up really late at night, like just like overthinking or just like stuff bothering me a lot. Um, by having anxiety and depression, it would really mess up school sometimes. Like I couldn't really focus. Like my grade would sometimes like go down a little bit because the lesson we were learning or whatever, like I wasn't really paying attention because I was so focused on something else, or I was already thinking like, oh my god, I don't understand this, I'm gonna fail it. Like, but I wasn't taking that time to actually study, and but instead I was like freaking out about it. And with everything else going on, sometimes that did make my grades suffer, but I did end off like being an honor roll student, luckily. And during soccer, when my anxiety, all I could think about is the ways is like I could disappoint my team, the things or the ways I could mess up. The And by depression, I would have to force myself to train sometimes or work out because I just didn't feel motivated enough. Like I
Mm.
knew I wanted to get better. I knew I wanted to be like up at a next level, but like at that point, like I just had to force myself and pull myself out of my bed or my couch or wherever I was at and be like, all right, we gotta work out or train because like you got to work at this instead of like just laying around and being like, all right, I'm just going to do nothing all day and like let
Yeah.
that take over my body instead of actually like forcing myself to get up and do something.
And that's very inspirational that you took yourself off the couch and just still pursued the thing that you knew had value to you deep down, the thing that mattered to you, some purpose. And that's an important thing to remember when you have especially depression can really suck you down, and finding anything that is meaningful to you and pursuing that and purposeful to you. And I think this is really valuable that you've shared this, Katelyn, with us. And I've personally gone through the same thing in my teenage years as well. And I think there's a lot of young players out there and just a lot of people in general that have going through right now anxiety and depression. I think it's important for them to know that they're not the only ones, and we're getting through that together. And that's a big part of Jen and I's mission, is to support the mental health of the young people coming up, and anyone in general, anyone we can support in general, really. So my like what I noticed in you when you first joined was you're definitely in a pattern of just like looping negative thoughts. You were pulled into that, and it's very hard to get out of on your own and without someone who sort of can support you to sort of reflect on that and change that. And I remember actually one of the first questions you brought to us was how do you know, I don't know specifically, but it was like something along the lines of, how do you know when it's the right time to quit, or something like that? Because because you were ready to quit. And I remember that. And then we dove in a little bit more, and I just vaguely remember I asked you, okay, so tell me the reason you want to quit. And you said, well, I have all this anxiety and this depression and stuff. And then and then I think I asked you, why do you love the sport? And you said, well, generally I love it because, it's usually a stress relief and all these beautiful things the reasons why you love the sport. And I'm thinking, okay, so she loves it, but she wants to quit. So then I'm like, okay, so if we could get rid of the anxiety and the depression, would you continue playing? And you're like, absolutely. So you didn't want to quit the sport. You wanted to quit the anxiety and the depression around the thoughts and the things that were the beliefs and all the things that the negative thought patterns that were causing this anxiety and depression that was relating to that. And I believe we successfully did that throughout our time together. Didn't we? Yeah. So, and let me ask you, so like some advice for someone who is currently struggling, whether it's someone your own age, someone younger, older, it doesn't matter, someone who's struggling with anxiety, depression, or anything else. What would you give them after your experience of moving through that?
I would tell them to definitely go talk to someone before it gets like too bad. And like holding in everything isn't good, it actually makes it worse. And like it doesn't matter like who it is, you just gotta find someone you trust. Doesn't, like, as I said, it doesn't matter who it is, you just gotta talk to them about what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, no matter what, or no matter how low you are, there's always going to be a bright side waiting for you. It might take a while, but it's going to happen. They're all going to get better at some time. It just it's not going to become like overnight. Like, you're going to talk to someone, it's not just going to become like an overnight thing that you're going to feel happy the next day. It might take like a while, it might take months, it might even take a year or even longer than that.
So keep pushing, even if it feels hopeless. Keep pushing, just keep trying, keep trusting that it will get better. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. What do you, any words on that, Jen, for yourself?
I love your advice. And I also, I had some tough times in my past while I was playing pro specifically that I can think of. And I love your advice because I did find that to be true too. There is that brightness on, like, that bright light at the end of the tunnel. And even if it doesn't feel like that's possible, just like holding that hope and trusting and believing that is there, because that has been my experience too. My life has gotten so much brighter and so much better. And it is a constant effort. It's a constant discipline. It's a constant journey of taking actions to show up for ourselves, to support our mindsets, to develop our resilience, to, identify these limiting beliefs, these negative thought patterns. And you've been doing that. So and so you're the perfect example of that, like holding that hope, and then also taking these actions, asking for help, talking to people you trust, showing up to the weekly calls. And that's part of why you've gotten such a tremendous result. And it's an ongoing journey. So this isn't the end for Katelyn. Like, you're going to keep going and you're likely going to keep experiencing some adversity, but now you have the tools. So you're not going to stay stuck for as long, right? You're going to be able to get yourself out of it so much faster.
And there's that quote that says, life doesn't get easier, we just get stronger. And that's such an important thing. So it's like, and I think stronger means we also get more tools. We discover more tools on how to use our brain, our minds better, and how to use the resources we have. And if someone was out there right now listening to this with struggling with depression or anxiety, sometimes you might hear the word actions. You've got to take actions, and that can be overwhelming because you can feel like Katelyn was laying on the couch and feeling heavy and wanting to drag yourself off. When it's actions, go and take 2 minutes, do a 2-minute walk around the block, whatever it is, do something to get yourself out. And I would focus solely on the things that are most important to you in life. And for me, in my darkest bouts of depression, I had to focus on four things, and it was the four people that I loved in life. And I would look at their initials every day, and that's what kept me going through the darkness. And our brains do this funny thing, and we distort today, and we distort today thinking it'll be forever, but it won't be. So if your mind says, oh, this is going to be forever, it's no wonder you don't want to, some people don't want to keep going because they feel like this is going to be forever, but it's not. That's a lie of the mind. It's a distortion in the mind. So that's one thing we taught Katelyn. You don't have to believe every thought your mind thinks, and that's it's an important thing to remember. So really good. So and one of the key things I noticed over the last several months with a lot of student athletes, and I don't want to say this to bag out coaches or anyone else, but I really noticed there's a lot of coaches that have a very low emotional intelligence, which means they don't have a great ability at controlling their own emotions, don't have a great ability at putting themselves into other people's shoes, having empathy, that sort of thing. And I say this because not only from my experience as an athlete, not only from supporting Jen through a similar experience with a coach that stripped her of the confidence, stripped her of self-esteem. Okay, but I noticed this with a bunch of you young girls, and I think if we can shine some light on that, we might help. Might bring. I know coaches are in a tough position, but it's also, I think it's valuable to hold them up to a high standard, because our young girls' mental health is on the line, and I don't care about any game. Our young players' mental health always comes before that, in my opinion. And I think anyone whose daughter is suffering or son is suffering with a mental health issue, they would agree that a game means nothing compared to the happiness of their child. So from your and it's not solely the coach's faults, but it can add to that. But I just want to know from your
the coach's responsibility to bring out the best in each student athlete on their team. That, in my opinion, that's the coach's job. And if a coach isn't doing that, that's a real opportunity to improve. And if a coach is actually harming an athlete, and that's a problem. And so that's, I think, where we're coming from. And of course, there are going to be, Katelyn will have a different opinion, a different style, perhaps, from our other girls who we've worked with, in terms of what you prefer and maybe what motivates you the most. But definitely the standard is the ideal coach is the person who brings out the best in all of their players.
Yeah, and I can probably hear some people who are unaware that you can be supportive, caring, and strong and tough love, but with love, not just tough and rejecting to players. I can hear I could probably imagine some people would be like, oh, but you don't, that's not how you coach. But it's like, okay, cool. Like, so if mental health comes second to winning, and I know that's fine, but go and tell that, look someone, who's lost their daughter to suicide, look them in the eyes and tell them that, because I've seen that. And you can have a high performance and higher level of fulfillment at the same time. Okay. And that's what I really encourage. Well, that's something we spoke a lot about, higher excellence and higher fulfillment at the same time, because success and being miserable is not success. So anyways, from a player's perspective, Katelyn, what style of coaching do you love to be coached by most, would you say?
The coach that I would be coached by the most, a supportive, caring, funny, and stern coach. Because I love when coaches support you and care about you when you're hurt, or notice when you're having an off day, and also take time to joke around, make jokes, or just joke around, say you make a mistake or something, you're really hard on yourself, and you come off like, you're mad or upset about yourself, and they'll come over and like just joke about you, like joke around with you. But also like a stern coach that knows when like to take it seriously, like during trainings or games.
Knows
But
when
he
to
also
hold you to
knows
that.
how to have fun.
Yeah, so they can hold you to a high standard, knows when to be serious, but they're like having a fun time.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. And what style of coaching do you think is worst for the players? Makes them even have a worse performance, makes them lose confidence. What sort of coach do you think does that?
A coach that, like, some coaches that coach have like no idea what they're doing. A coach that's always serious, yells at his or her players all the time, telling them to do better, but not really explaining like what they're doing wrong. And always gets like frustrated at like his or her team.
Yeah.
Just like really the basics of like just getting mad at your team, like really not knowing like much, and like not explaining like what that player's doing wrong when they're yelling at them.
And that's what I find fascinating is the coaches get frustrated at the player, and it's like, well, aren't you coaching them to get better? And they'll say, oh, don't do this. So I think you had experience recently. It was like, you're doing this, don't do that. It's like, okay, like tell me what to do. It's like, coach me, please. So what would your perspective on that be, Jen? Best coaches versus sort of worst coaches, from a player's perspective when you perform best?
I recognize that every job brings with it its challenges. So speaking purely from my experience, what I've observed, it is so valuable. It is so transformational for a player when a coach demonstrates that they believe in that player 100%, when they're fully invested in them. You have a coach who shows up for a player like that. Same, imagine we have twins. Same player has a coach like that, and then same player, but has a coach who, plays mental games, who says hurtful things, who yells but doesn't offer the how, right? Who breaks you down. Same level of talent, same level of potential. This one player is going to go on to accomplish her goals, assuming, of course, she's taking the actions, right? And
personal responsibility,
taking personal responsibility. But it is absolutely life-changing and transformational. And so that, to me, that's like for a coach to set the intention that I'm going to show up for my team and my players like that, so that, and I get that not every player on a team is going to want to put in all the work. I get that not every player on the team is going to want to like grow, tremendously, right? We all have different goals and different intentions, and that's okay. A coach can still show up in that way for every single player, and also ask them, what's your intention here? What's your goal here? What do you want to get out of this season? How can I show up for you to help you get what you want? Right? So then a coach isn't holding every single player maybe to the exact same standard, because if a player says, coach, I'm just happy to be here. I want to ride the bench. I want to stay fit and support my team. Great. I'm going to hold you to a different standard than a player who says, I want to play for the national team, right? Or I want to score 20 goals this season.
Then the coach can bring that up and say, you said you wanted this. You're not acting like that.
Yeah.
Let's go. Do you really want, like, yeah.
So for me, that, like, instead of saying things about like what shouldn't be happening, I really like just like painting the picture of and focusing on, like, to me, what the gold standard is. And then like, now that we're doing this podcast, kids, parents at all ages perhaps will get to reflect on that and think about, like, how is my coach compared to that gold standard? And, am I okay with where things are at? Are we going to go seek another team? Right. I think that's really valuable.
Yeah. And I mean, the coach is going to have their days, but as long as they're giving their best effort towards that. And I think a valuable point in this is that there's two ways to motivate someone: the stick, chase them away with a stick, or the carrot. The carrot. So it's motivating them away from something negative or fear, or towards something positive, or a vision, or you can be this. So you'll find that the bad coaches they think the best way to motivate someone is punishment. If you do this, you'll be punished. When it's more like there's a better way. We can believe in them unconditionally, have unconditional compassion, unconditional support. And if they don't do something well, you say, hey, I'm noticing you're not doing this well. Here's what to do to make it different. I want you to do some extra practice. Do you want to get better at this? Yes. Okay. Well, here, go do some extra practice. And then they come back next week, make the same mistakes. They're not listening. It's like, hey, are you taking this seriously? Do you want to be a part of this? Like, what's going on? It's not getting angry and just yelling and then ignoring and rejecting. There's
And I've noticed too, and this is at all levels, communication is really, really valuable. And even if a player isn't going to like what a coach says they're going to do, like, I think there's so much value in a coach, like, communicating to a player, for example, hey, I'm not going to start you this next game. Here's why. We're going to start this player instead. But to actually have that conversation in advance before it's announced to the team, to me, that's a sign of really high emotional intelligence on the side of the coach, because they're saying, this probably isn't what the player wants, but in order to support them most and get the most out of them, to most nourish their confidence, I'm going to have that conversation, even though it sucks. To have that conversation with Katelyn, for example, Katelyn, listen, I've made the decision to not start you in this upcoming game. That does not feel good as a coach. I would imagine it doesn't feel good to go to a player you genuinely care about and say, listen, I've decided not to choose you. But that type of coach, that's the type of coach who commands respect from their players, in my opinion. And I don't think that happens enough. I'm not sure why. I'm sure there are many reasons, but I'd love to see more.
And a few simple extra words can change the whole conversation. I've decided not to play you today, and it's because of this I've seen that you've been making this mistakes, and you just, I've noticed you're not been performing in this area, and I believe in you. I believe you can up level in them areas, and here's what to go and do if you want to do the extra work, and if you want to do that. And I just want to remind you that you're valuable as a human. Just because I'm not playing you today doesn't mean anything beyond that. This is just a game, and remember that you're awesome. Okay?
Exactly.
So it's that unconditional belief.
Give me every reason to start you next game, and the game after that. And here's what
encouraging.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so I asked Katelyn prior to this, when do you enjoy playing the game most, and feel respected by the coaches most? And I asked, is it when your coach encourages you, supportively coaches you, when you stuff up, or when you have a bad game? They try to lift you up when you're down. They are supportive even when you have a bad game, and give you clear instructions on how to get better as a player? Or do you prefer, when a coach gets frustrated at you, ignores you when you stuff up or have a bad game, doesn't notice when you're down, is unkind when you have a bad game, and doesn't give you clear instructions on how to get better as a player, aka coaching? And of course, Katelyn said, the first one. And I said, okay, well, which one of the above do you feel is best for your performance? And she's like, well, definitely the first one still. And then, okay, which one of the above do you feel is best for your self-esteem and confidence? She's like, well, definitely the first one. So in my mind, if a coach wants a confident, highly confident team, highly performing team with a lot of self-esteem and a lot of joy, that would be crazy. Not, I guess all coaches want to win games. If they want to win games, then they would do this. If they don't care, then maybe they would do the old way. But yeah, it's just and it's not to bag out coaches. It's just to hopefully just bring some awareness to this and from what we've seen. Yeah, Jen?
And I just one thought came to my mind as a coach who coaches in a different way, not on the soccer field, but in a different way. I get that it can feel, and Luke, you and I talk about this from time to time. I have felt in the past frustrated by certain clients who I work with of all ages, right? We're talking about adults, teenagers, all of them. And that can happen because I care so much. I so want them to reach their goals. I so want them to overcome what they're struggling with, right? But maybe they're not doing the things, taking the actions. Maybe they don't want it as much. And then I can almost take it personally, or I have at times gotten like, I say to Luke, and I'm frustrated. I'm really frustrated. I want this so much for this person. And he's had to remind me, hey, you're too invested. Like, it's up to the person to really go for what you want. You can give them the tools, but they're the ones who have to use them. So in defense of these coaches who I believe are genuinely doing their absolute best with the tools that they currently have, I wonder if part of the frustration comes from passion, and they're like, I want this kid to succeed. I'm going to try and do my best to make that happen. And man, they're frustrating me because they're not working on their first touch. And like, they say they want to start, but I can't start them because they haven't improved in this thing. And they just get frustrated and they yell.
And yeah, I want to say something on that. And something Jen taught me as a man is unconditional love is not a word, it's a practice. And to really embody that, it takes practice. And unconditional support and unconditional belief in a person, they're both without conditions. It doesn't matter if they're doing bad. It doesn't matter if there's something going on. Maybe the child's not motivated. They need more purpose, they need more meaning. But unconditional belief or support is a practice. And that's what I think, that's what I'd love to see the coaches begin practicing. And that's what we that's what we hold ourselves to.
So if a coach is observing a tendency of a player not, working on their first touch when they say they want to improve it, and when that's the thing keeping them from starting, it's an opportunity for a coach to not like withdraw support or withdraw love and mean. It's an opportunity for them to just be like, okay, I'm going to still totally accept you and support you no matter what. And you're not going to get unconditionally, you might not get the results that you're after on this team, but I'm going to keep supporting.
I still believe in you. And
I
believe you can. And here's how to actually go and work on this. If you want to do the extra work, I believe in you and I'm going to support you no matter what. So a lot of people don't realize, a lot of coaches don't realize, when you ignore anyone, but especially a kid, you ignore them, that is rejection. A child takes that as, I'm unworthy. That is a great way to strip a child's self-esteem and confidence. So it's never ignoring a person because you're upset, especially over a game of soccer. But yeah.
Awesome. And no one's perfect, so we can always apologize when we mess up. I mess up from time to time.
Yeah.
Apologize. Yeah.
Yeah. So Katelyn, what's the best advice you've ever received?
I would say no matter how hard it gets, keep pushing, because every push is one step closer to your dreams.
That come from your dad? Sounds like it might have.
It might have, I really don't know, but I just remember that.
I love that.
That's awesome. And what would you say, what advice would you give to any, there's probably a lot of maybe younger girls, younger than you, coming up and playing, they want to play varsity, they want to get to your level. What advice would you give to them?
To playing like varsity soccer?
Yeah, if they got the goal of playing varsity soccer, yeah.
Really just don't be intimidated by upperclassmen. Just go in there and try your hardest, no matter like what grade you're in. mostly every year. Doesn't matter if you're a senior, junior, it really doesn't matter what year. You still got to fight for your position on the field
Mhm.
because you never know. You could be a senior and like an amazing sophomore or freshman could come in and like work 10 times harder than you and take your position because you're just not working hard for it.
So, and that work is not just on the field, that's at home. Like you do the crazy amount of work outside of
Yes.
soccer, right? Yeah. Good. Okay.
And like you might not be the best or the fastest, but you really just can't doubt yourself. You got to be confident on the field because if you're not confident on the field, you're going to be like the upperclassmen or whoever's like beating you. You're going to be like, oh my God, I suck. And you're just going to get in your head and you're going to distract yourself from playing like the game you're good at.
So I'm hearing you say like spending the time developing, investing in your confidence and your mindset is so valuable.
And the confidence can come from, developing your skill as a player, and then also developing your mind as a player, as an individual too. Awesome. And let's say you're giving one more question for you. Let's say you're giving life advice to your 10 to 12-year-old self. What would you tell her?
Just really don't listen to what others have to say about you. Just really be yourself, no matter like how mean or just how rude the comments are. Really, you're just perfect the way you are because everyone's like born differently. Like just really don't compare yourself for sports or looks because everyone's good at different things. Everyone's looks different, like just how we are. Also, that life is gonna get hard and it's okay because we're all gonna get through it.
Oh, that's beautiful, Katelyn.
You just melted my heart. Oh,
yeah. Making me want to tear up. Jeez. That's beautiful.
I love it.
Yeah, amazing. And what's the future looking like for you? What are you most excited about for the future?
For right now, my high school soccer season, I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome.
And I mean, I was gonna save this for our meeting later, but going on to my third year of being an ODP player. So
does that mean you got selected or?
Yeah.
Well done. I'm glad you shared it here.
Oh my goodness, congratulations.
Thank you.
When did you find out?
Today actually.
Oh, what? Amazing. Oh, we could have put it in the intro.
Awesome. That's beautiful.
That's so great.
Well done. Well, very exciting. Very exciting. We will discuss that even further later on. But what are you most excited about another year as an ODP player?
I'm really like looking forward to like see the girls again, like seeing who's on my team this year, seeing like how well we do together. Like the traveling, like I really enjoyed traveling, like seeing like other competition, like Virginia, Maryland, like versing competition, just not in New Jersey. Like like that just feels like good, like me up to that level, me actually being able to play like different states and playing out of state. So
it's amazing.
Such an exciting time.
Yeah, you got lots of experience with that, Jen.
I actually didn't do ODP.
You didn't?
No, we thought about it back in the day, but decided that given how busy I was with like the other sports I played, and it wasn't a priority. And so I just focused on playing with my club team at the time and going to those tournaments to get experience and exposure for colleges. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, we don't want to take too much more of your time, but thanks so much for joining us today. We really appreciate having you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
So we'll see you tonight?
Anytime.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
I can't wait. All right,
Yes.
beautiful. Thank you so much.
All
Mwah.
right.
Bye. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.